to Hard Talk.
Thank you for having me.
By many measures, you are a very famous woman. For instance, you have, what, more than 16 million followers on Instagram. But the origins of your fame lie in your brief involvement in the porn industry. Is that hard for you to deal with?
Absolutely. After I left...
What's up, YouTube? Today we are actually covering a feminist who chose to become an online sex worker but deeply regrets it. However, it's officially too late. So let's get into it, shall we?
It got hacked by ISIS sympathizers and propaganda was posted all over it. So Instagram took it down. And I didn't recreate one for another year until I decided to kind of accept my fate as the infamous former porn star and try and change the narrative. So I recreated an Instagram account and tried to, for lack of a better term, become an influencer.
Because if you put your name, as indeed I have done researching this, put your name into Google and...
On the Work Network?
Yeah, well, it was work. But the point is, you get these countless links to videos, the word porn star appears immediately. That is something that you will never, ever overcome, however much...
First of all, that's rude. I'm trying to.
Yes, I understand that. I don't mean to say you want it to be, but it's the way technology, the internet works.
Yeah. I'm not very Google friendly, and we're trying to change that. One of the first things that comes up is the site that I do not own or control, but where the homepage is written in first person, like I am the one running it. And on my Wikipedia, it's posted as my official website. And we've tried countless times to get it taken down, including taking legal action, but the company they won't hear anything.
That's because when you put something on the internet, madam, it's there for life. You can never get rid of it. That's why a lot of people who decide to do online business, like YouTube, we try to be as professional as possible and stick to the facts. We literally do.
Let's go through this step by step. How did a girl who was brought by her parents to the United States from Lebanon, your home country, schooled in the United States, clearly smart, went to university in Texas, read history. How did you get involved with the sex porn industry?
I don't think low self-esteem discriminates against anyone. It doesn't matter if you come from a great family or if you come from a not so great background. I struggled my entire childhood with weight, and I never felt attractive or worthy of male attention. And suddenly, my first year of college, I start losing all this weight from making small changes. And by the time I graduated, I was ready to make a bigger difference. I felt extremely self-conscious about my breasts because that was the first thing to go when I lost all the weight. I lost about 50 pounds. I don't know how many kilos that is, or stones.
Well, it's a considerable amount of weight.
Yeah.
It changed your body, it changed you physically.
Completely.
Yeah.
So my biggest insecurity was my breasts. So I wanted to more or less go back to what they normally were. And once I did that, I started garnering all of this attention from men, and I was never used to it. And I felt like unless I held on to it and kind of did what was asked of me or what was expected of me, it would go away. And after feeling what it was like, that validation and, the compliments for the first time, I did not want that to go away.
That's because women are neurologically speaking, that's because women's brains are neurologically a lot more emotional than men's are. So yeah, and as a result of that, the average woman has a much higher need for positive validation than men do. So when you were started that because of your obesity, well, guess what? It's like hitting a real dopamine hit. You're probably not even going to recall it.
You were spotted, I think, on a street. I mean, there you were a young graduate wanting to sort of find a job, and you were spotted on a street by a guy who said, I can work with you, and clearly he opened up and said it's the porn business. What was it in you that far from running away, was drawn into it?
It wasn't. That's not how it was. It wasn't just, hey, do you want to come do porn? It was more so, oh, you're beautiful. Like, would you like to do some modeling? Oh, you have a great body. Like, I think you'd be great in nude modeling. Things like that. And after I came and toured the studio, it was very respectable. It was a gorgeous location. It was in Miami, in Doral, Florida. It was clean. Everyone who worked there was nice. All of their cubicles were decorated with family photos. Like, it was nothing dodgy or that made me uncomfortable. And after the first time I went in wasn't the first time I filmed a porn movie. It was the second time. The first time was more so, do you want to do this? Like, sign the paperwork, et cetera, et cetera.
You have since talked about people who prey on callow young women. I'm just wondering, as we talk about it now, whether you feel a sense of victimhood, whether you look back at your younger self, because obviously now you're 26, but this is when you were 21. Do you look at that 21-year-old and feel that she was used, she was very much a victim?
I feel like she didn't have the tools to identify that she was being taken advantage of, and that what she was being told was lies. Maybe not so much lies, but trying to manipulate me to doing what they wanted me to do. I don't really see myself as a victim. I don't like that word. I did make my own decisions, even though they were terrible decisions. I think that something needs to change in the way women are approached, if even they are approached.
It is an industry, and it is a multi-billion-dollar industry, but at the heart of it are young people, and men and women, who are asked to and agree to perform sex acts in front of a camera. How much control, agency, did you have in the process of making those videos, which we now know have been viewed hundreds of billions of times?
None. Very little. Other than kind of saying yes, no to one outfit or the other. Very little say on what was filmed, the theme of it, the content, where it's filmed. It's not really up to you.
But obviously consent would seem to me as an outsider to be a fundamentally important principle. If they asked you to perform a particular kind of sex act that you absolutely did not want to do...
No, they can't force you.
No.
No, absolutely not.
So in other words, you did have control, madam. You didn't have to say yes to this. You literally could have just walked away any given time you want. You were literally doing this 100% on your own free will. You were.
Interestingly, in the recent past, about the mindset you had when you were performing in the sex videos, you said that you sort of blacked out, and that now you look back, you can't actually remember very clearly a lot of the things you did. Do you try and explain to me what was going on in your head as you got deeper into this industry?
I think that the word I couldn't quite grasp when I said that would be adrenaline. I think my adrenaline was so high because I knew what I was doing was beyond anything that I ever thought that I would do or anything that I could have imagined doing. So adrenaline was through the roof, makes it hard to look back and remember exactly what happened and the things that transpired.
Do you find it difficult talking about it now?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, no, I understand that. And obviously, I mean, do you think it made a difference? I'm genuinely just asking that you're of Arab heritage. Mm-hmm. Your parents were from Lebanon.
I'm from Lebanon. I was born and raised there.
Exactly. You're Arab, and Arab culture is deeply conservative on the whole. And do you think that was an extra layer that you had to peel away as you got involved in this business?
Probably. I think a part of it was also rebellion and wanting to do something so out of bounds and so out of character that I shocked even myself.
And I guess this is a very stupid question, but of course your family had no clue as to what you were doing.
No, and they disowned me when they found out.
Did they?
Yes.
That must have been terribly hard.
It was. I felt completely alienated by not just the world, but my family and the people around me. So it was, especially after I quit, when I was still alone, even though I left. And I mean, I just realized some mistakes aren't forgivable, but time heals all wounds, and things are getting better now.
Things are changing.
Yes.
I want to ask you about the mechanics of the industry in one other way, and that is power, authority, money. First of all, we've talked, obviously men and women are performers in this business, but were there any women in positions of authority and control that you worked with?
Absolutely. One of the closest people that the talents work with was a female. She was very nice, respectful, professional. A lot of female employees in the back office, like VPs of sales and people on the tech side. So the offices are filled with women. And I asked her, I'm like, how did you find this job? Like, how do you apply for a job like this? The word of mouth through a friend.
The financial side of it is extraordinary too.
And word of mouth through a friend means your fellow women told you about it. Yeah, this is evidence of what we covered before on this channel, where for a lot of women who choose to go into sex work, well, the most common reason is you were screwed over by your fellow women. And because of the feminist movement, there is no one there who is willing to hold them accountable.
The video that I want to talk about in a moment, which involved you wearing the Islamic dress, the hijab, you, for a time, were the #1 most popular porn actress on Pornhub, which is this aggregator site for porn that is wildly popular throughout the world, it seems. And you were getting hundreds of millions of views. And yet, despite that, in the porn world stardom, you were paid a grand total for all the 12 sex videos you made. You were paid a grand total of $12,000 US. And yet you made millions and millions of dollars for both Bang Bros, the company that you worked with, and Pornhub, the aggregating site. How could that be?
That's just how it is. I'm not the only one who was singled out by this. It's not like I had a terrible contract or a terrible manager. Not that I didn't have a manager or an agent.
At all?
No.
No advisors, nothing at all?
No.
And you were 21 years, you were barely out of childhood, frankly.
Yeah. No. I mean, the human brain doesn't fully develop until the age of 25, so.
I'm pretty sure many scientific studies, madam, will completely 100% disagree with you on that. Like, for example, you are technically a full-grown legal adult within the state by the age of 18. So, pretty sure your brain was fully developed at least by the age of 18.
Decision-making part of my brain still needed forming. There was no one to tell me what to do or to say this is wrong.
This is important about the nature of the porn business, because you make a video, it lives forever online, and the more popular it gets, the more hits it gets. And we're not just talking about the United States. Many of your videos were, it seems, very popular in the Middle East.
The most popular in the Middle East.
Which is interesting in itself.
Because they're the ones who are tweeting death threats at me.
Exactly. We'll get to that in just a moment. But the point of the finances is, however popular you became, the #1 star in this business, you had no residuals, no rights whatsoever to get any sort of recompense for your popularity.
None. None whatsoever.
And is that, to this very day, is that the way porn contracts work?
Absolutely, for everybody. Everyone, male, female, everyone who comes in.
Now, I think we have to get to this one particular, and I mentioned at the beginning, the notorious video you were involved in, which actually involved 3 young people. You were one of them, and you were wearing the Islamic headscarf, often known as hijab. And of course, then it developed into a sort of a sex scene. You must have known how provocative that was.
I verbatim told them, you guys are going to get me killed.
And they said?
They just laughed.
Why didn't you then say, I'm not doing it?
Intimidation. I was scared.
But
I knew that if I said no, it would, they're not going to force you to do it. At that point, that's rape. No one's going to force you to have sex. But I was still scared. I mean, have you ever felt scared not scared, but nervous to speak up and say something at a restaurant when your food's not right and the waiter comes by and says, how is everything? I was intimidated. I was nervous.
What you are saying,
Honestly, madam, I do know how that feels. For a lot of people, that's what standing up to your fellow women is like. It is. As for the reason why they laugh, well, exact same reason why a lot of gym owners are laughing when women say, hey, I don't feel comfortable with this guy at the gym. You're literally there on your own free will. You're doing this on your own free will. You don't like it, door's right there. Yeah. As for the intimidation part, well, let's face it. Because of the feminist movement, a majority of women here in the West, not all mind you, but a majority of them, have a collectivist mindset. In case if you guys don't know what that is, well, I think the best way to describe it is to compare it to the conservative culture that you, madam, claim you were born and raised in. Essentially, a conservative culture is where, hey, people can disagree, every individual is able to make their decisions. You can disagree with it, but you must respect it. A collectivist culture, on the other hand, is when a group of people make a decision, yep, and everybody has to follow along with it. If you don't follow along with it, you'll be treated like you were a deserter in the army. So I'm pretty sure that's the intimidation part you are referring to, madam. I don't think it has anything to do with the men. I really don't.
concept of consent is sort of meaningless in the power dynamic between the men mostly who are controlling the porn industry and a young 21-year-old actress such as yourself.
Absolutely. When there's 4 white male producers in the room and you say something like that to them and they all just laugh, I mean, it's kind of devastating and it makes you not want to speak up and say anything again. It's the same with when you sign your contracts. You have, the president and the CEO of the company sitting in the room with you waiting for you to read it. And when you're reading it, you're not comprehending anything that's written because you're so nervous because people are staring at you.
When you walked out of that filming area at the end of that particular video film, did you in your heart know this is going to be a disaster for me?
It didn't hit until I think the next day because the adrenaline was still very high. But immediately after it was released, it shattered my entire world. The reason I thought it was okay for me to do porn was because I thought no one would ever find out about it. There's millions of girls who film themselves having sex and do things like that, and no one knows their name, no one knows who they are, no one recognizes them. So I wanted to do it as my dirty little secret, but it blew up in my face.
It really did. I mean, from the point of view of the filmmakers and the aggregators, it was a triumph. They got hundreds.
Oh, yeah.
All right, everybody, that's all we got time for today. Guess I'll see you all after Christmas.